have been no sound. Seriously. Oh, that's so sad. You guys, I'm so sorry. All right, well, there's been, you got the music at least. This is horrible, but for those of you that are possibly in on this, now my stream health is horrible. There's actually 26. I'm so sorry, guys. Yeah, I've got to get a little better at this. It's a little awkward compared to how I'm normally oriented. So self-love, how do we make these changes? I guess is the big thing, and this is just such a long video at this point, and it's just part of the joy of live. That's so rad. A lot of us, and this came from Agnes's video earlier today, a lot of us have it's so rad. A lot of us have come from the place where we maybe have an ex in our life that is not what we wanted. They're not quite as healthy as they should be, and as we've spent a lot of time working on ourselves, working on self-love, we might actually find that certain feelings change. Now, let me back up just a hair since all of a sudden now there's audio and you guys can actually tell what I'm talking about. Agnes did a video today about someone attracting back a narcissist. And a narcissist is someone who just thinks of themselves pretty much. They revolve around themselves. They're like the whole entire universe revolves around them. And the person was kind of more in line with, well, how can I change that? How can I change them? And Agnes, and I agree, and this majorly in this case, is that's very much of an us pushed out kind of scenario. It's very much of a, this is what I'm sending out to the universe. This is what I'm telling everybody else out there. So therefore, this is kind of what I'm getting and getting back, basically, or I'm attracting. So by putting out these feelings where I'm not good enough, I'm number two. I don't matter enough to everyone else to demand a healthy relationship, to demand being with someone that can actually make a difference back in my own life, right? Someone that can, it's just, the energies we attract, I've so got to make sure I don't have things turned on when I'm in here. It's so distracting trying to like see all this and everything's lagged and all this. It's amazing. The live and sound. Oh yeah, what? Maybe I should start to actually make sure I've got sound going on in there. That's always good times. But yes, so a lot of times when we work through all these processes of attracting these people, or maybe their exes specifically, we are trying to get to a place that we once were, to a place that was comfortable, to a place that was happy, to a place that was good and everything, right? All that did is I don't know if there's a way I can turn this off completely. Stop, please. Hang on, I will do this. That's off. Okay, good. That will help. Okay, so yes, all that comes out to the concept of us pushed out. Again, when we're not really truly giving the love that we deserve to ourselves, and we're not really attracting what we want to be attracting to ourselves, we get into this place where we start to bring towards us an environment that's not healthy. And so these relationships break up because we're working on ourselves, we're evolving, we're growing, and through this process, we start to realize that, hey, wait, I don't want that anymore. Or, hey, wait, that's no longer attractive. I want to see that change. And through this evolution, through this growth, through all this stuff that we're going through, you'll actually start to realize that these are things that it's okay to let go of. You're becoming kind of a new person. Your energy's kind of raising to a new level. And if that person can't come along with you because of choices they're making, conscious, be it conscious or unconscious, the choices that they're making are going to help them evolve. So maybe sometimes even for the very power of walking away from somebody, even that is enough to strengthen them to say, no, don't go. I'll change. I'll do this. I'll see it. You're right. I need to do this. Or sometimes it's just us reaching for a better world, a better life, a better place that we can possibly get into. So instead of trying to change the narcissist, we should try to change ourselves. And in changing ourselves, one, will attract better quality people because now we do actually love ourselves. Now we do actually care about what I'm presenting outward, what I'm trying to give to the world, what I'm being and saying and doing and all that stuff, right? And when we can project out a better world, project out a better life for ourselves, when we can imagine a better life, when we're vibrating at that, because now all of a sudden we're loving everything, all these people, right? We're behaving differently when we meet people at the coffee shop. We're being kind to them, all these good things. All this starts to change what we attract and what we're okay with. And so you might look at your ex and go, I can see why we broke up. I can see why that changed. Now, maybe this is the person you're trying to manifest. They might be able to change. Don't give up. I'm not saying that's the case. But there is a large number of people that may be attracted to people that are not healthy. And rather than trying to change someone that's not healthy, it's best to try to just be better for yourself and attract a more healthy relationship. Because that's ultimately what you're after. You're after the love. You're after this wonderful relationship. And the parts that were great before, let's bring that into this new relationship. And when you look at it from a standpoint of I'm creating a new relationship, it can still be the specific person, but now you're creating your own movie rather than trying to, like we're so famous for now in Hollywood, right? They're rewriting old movies, like all these old movies that were done and now we're recreating them. Same movies. In some cases, the scripts are almost identical. Let's make your movie, your own movie, and stop trying to recycle an old movie. And you can still bring this actor into your movie. That's okay. But make it yours. Make it yours. Take it all away. Hopefully that'll make a difference through that whole thing. And again, yes, if you're trying to attract someone that's not necessarily happy or in a good place in their own world, their own life, then, sometimes we got to maybe do its best for us in the big picture. Now, if there's kids involved, things get more interesting, but again, they're still kind of in your life. So there you go, huh? So again, yes, I think there's two struggles to this whole concept. This is us pushed out. When you're attracting those kinds of people to you, you really need to look at yourself and go, wow, what is it about myself that I'm okay with someone putting me as number two in the case of this narcissist, or in the case of they don't ever have time for you, or in the case of whatever it is. Why was that okay? Why was I accepting of that when, maybe I shouldn't be as much, right? So it's kind of hard that way. Also, when we put the power outside of ourselves, I'm never fond of that. Never, ever, ever fond of the fact that we've putting happiness outside of me, of what I'm capable of doing within my own thoughts and feelings and just living my life and waking up tomorrow because I enjoy what I've got ahead of me. Like, that's kind of a powerful thing unto itself. And then you attract more things that are similar, and that would be good relationships and happy relationships and all that stuff along those lines. When you change, people start to change. Yes, Nina, you've got it. I got to figure out what your last name means. I'm sure it means something cool. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry I've been distracted. I'm horribly sorry. It was one of my friends who was an artist. Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah, blowing it on the sound for a while. For those of you that are actually still in here, I appreciate that. If any of you want to try to drop some questions, I'll open it up here for a little while. Since I've done such a horrible job starting this, I'll have to trim the video even after. It's such a bummer. I'm so sorry. But anyway, it is what it is. We learn. This is only my third one, so I'm still kind of making stuff up as we go. So the first time in my life, I love myself and I see what I've done wrong in the past. Good. And that's a huge thing. Someone just commented, Amy, and that's a very big deal when we finally reach that point when we start to realize, man, I haven't been putting me number one. And at first that can be a little upsetting. It can be a little angering, right? Like, man, it's my fault actually. Like you start to realize and you're like, oh, and then you accept it and you're like, okay, well, let's move forward. Let's grow. Let's dust ourselves off, as I frequently say. If you're not making mistakes in life, frankly, man, you are not trying. Seriously, you're not trying. You should be making mistakes on a regular basis. You should be finding places where you're maybe not always right or you're maybe always wrong or whatever the case. What if we do share kids with someone that's a narcissist? Well, there's a couple problems with narcissists in general, especially even as parents, is they tend to be very much not like kids are hard for them sometimes to get outside of themselves. So again, you can hope for them to get counseling and all those things, but there's kind of like a challenge with them. You're better off really trying to be strong with who you are, be strong as a parent yourself. Be there for your children as much as you possibly can. And yeah, you can try to put out the good kind of vibes, good, hope he changes, imagine him changing. I mean, Goddard did a lot of those things with trying to affect other people. But again, it's always harder to affect other people than it is to just change ourselves. And sometimes if we see it a little different and, daddy's just busy, right? Just by phrasing it slightly different, sometimes it can make it seem less of a bad thing and more of it's kind of a good thing. It's good. So there we go. Someone here's putting in a hi all, self-love. Okay, well, there you go. That's good stuff. Self-love is actually the only way you can have, you are the creator. You're right, and that's the thing. If you don't really believe that you're worthy of what it is that you're trying to create, how can you possibly ever create it? Kind of the same as said, this is similar. It's not on the same subject as all the relationship people, but with jobs. When you're hunting for a job, if you don't believe you're worthy of that job, why would they? And it's the same thing. It's that same feeling. It's that feeling you give off is what you attract back, or basically how you react or reflect back from them. Okay, but wow, let's see. How do they get counseling if it is you pushed out? You pushed out more implies that your perceiving them or you attracted them. They don't necessarily fix themselves. They're fine as they are per se. You trying to change them just means that you're now realizing that what you've attracted isn't something that you're necessarily attracted to anymore, and you're trying to alter that so it fits your reality. That's actually something where you really need to look at what you're attracting and who you are. That's the us pushed out part that's a little frustrating for a lot of people. If that's where you're at and you attracted that, and then you know, even back to that one lady, have kids, you start to run into issues where now you've got children with probably someone that was not a good choice as a father. Oh, how do you get rid of thoughts from 3D reality? So, okay, so just without trying to read all this and spending a whole lot of time on this one, you don't get rid of thoughts. You don't get rid of thoughts. So whatever this thought is that you're trying to get rid of, say it's like, we're going to use something that no one's really thinking right now, but it should be able to apply. I'm not wealthy enough, right? And I keep having that thought, I'm not wealthy enough. How do I get rid of that thought, I'm not wealthy enough? You stop thinking, I'm not wealthy enough, and you think, I am abundant. I have abundance. I have love. I have the job coming. That's how you get rid of negative thoughts. You think the opposite. Whatever it is that you would like to experience, paradojas de la vida, whatever it is that you want to experience is what you should focus your thoughts on. If there's something you're trying to make go away by looking at it, you continue it. The only way to make something go away is to look in another direction. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, Kathy, I'm going to try to read your stuff. How is it? Okay, what if the searching for a job and you don't really want the kind of job that keeps you from having it? There's no such thing as a... Wow. Okay, we're not going to... I think... Who else? Kathy, you'll keep telling the universe you don't want it. Okay, I guess. There's a lot of typing there, and I can't read that on the fly. Okay, so, yeah, unless there are a couple more questions pop in here, this is a really big part of this whole concept. And apparently the narcissist thing went a long way. There are places where people can evolve. I've definitely known some narcissists in my time. A couple of them. I had a really good friend that was surprisingly one. So it can be a difficult relationship. But, you know, in my case, when I was friends with that individual, it was fine. I didn't mind being number two. It was kind of fun. I've always been okay being in the background. But when it got down to where I kind of started taking my own life into my own hands, and that's when I really started getting into the radio path and all these things happened, I was really okay with kind of letting go of that relationship and kind of moving forward. So I don't know. Hopefully that kind of helps out and all that. Just to see if there's any other. Do self-love creates distance from the negative people? So what happens with negative people? This is actually a great question. Okay, so does self-love create distance from negative people? How it tends to work out, and we've talked about this before, like the amazing amount of timing where maybe you leave your house and you drop your keys and then something happens and you bump and you knock something over. And then anyway, you get down to the shop or the market or the Starbucks or wherever the heck you're going, and you bump into so-and-so. And when you think about the perfect timing that occurred and the fact that if you wouldn't have dropped your keys and if you wouldn't have done that and then this and the other thing and I forgot something, I had to run back upstairs real quick. Right? When that kind of stuff happens, you realize, that can put us on timing to meet interesting people. Well, the same is true about when you're attracting or being more positive in your life and attracting more positive, you tend to get out of the timing of the negative. You tend to see less of it. That's why they always talk about by changing what's within, you change what's outside of you, right? That's not just some voodoo, hoodoo, crazy, whoa, right? That's not craziness like that. It's more of what you're vibrating at is what you attract more of, is what you experience more of. And as you're not focusing on other things anymore, you actually stop seeing those things. That's one of the for me, was one of the biggest magical proof moments ever, was when I stopped seeing things because I stopped thinking about them. It is amazing how that works out and how that plays out. So that's definitely a great question that goes into that. Okay, so you were saying there are narcissists. Yes, I think there are people that can be narcissists. Yes. You want me to expand on that? Really? On how? What am I missing here? That why can people? So one thing I'm going to say, and I don't know if this answers it or not, but this is one thing I seem like I get a couple questions about this whole us pushed out thing. At least from my vantage point, I don't know what you believe, okay? And so whatever you believe is fine, even if it differs from me. I believe other people are their own souls, like their own lighthouses in the middle of their own oceans, in the middle of their own storms, right? Like we're all our own little islands, if you will. But I do believe that we interact and connect and talk and affect other people, but we're all on our own journeys. So when I see somebody else, I see somebody living their own journey, not somebody that is me pushed out per se, or mine to do with as I will, or someone that I can just have if I desire because they have no free will unto themselves. I don't believe that. So can narcissists exist? Yes, absolutely. And I've talked about before, and this might upset some people, and I apologize, but I don't believe we only live one life either. So I believe there's times where we might be an array of people throughout many lives so we can understand what it's like to basically be a jerk, right? Or what it's like to maybe be poor, or what it's like to maybe have a disability, or what it's like to maybe, right there. I think there's a lot to be said about a lot of these humbling experiences that many of us have experienced, at least some of these in life, maybe not some to the fullest extent. But again, that whole thing really gets into why I believe people can be narcissists. They can be solely focused on themselves. And the other side of it too, and I'll throw this out, it's a little crazy, but it's called Law of One or Law of Ra, for any of you that want to look it up. It's fascinating stuff that was being written back in the 80s, early 80s, I want to say. But there's two paths essentially that they talk about: service to others and service to self. So service to others is what I'm very, very fond of, what I'm here to do, trying to help other people do things. And all you got to do is just be really good 50% of the time or more, and you're pretty good. You're solid. Everything's great. You couldn't ask for more. The people that are service to self have a much tougher path, and it's not something that I teach, not something that I like giving a whole lot of attention to, though it's there, and it's a legitimate path, and there's reasons for it, and I could do shows on that in the future if people really cared. But long story short, they have to be service to self like 95% of the time. Really hard to do. Really hard to do. So again, it's our paths. It's what path are we here to do, and what are we trying to experience. So hopefully that works. Borderliners, yeah, that's something else. Are we talking? Okay. Experiencing, I'm going to see what typical Stan here said. Experiencing things like that is a sign that you have to let go. It's not about the depth and the thoughts. It's about the letting go. I'm not sure what that ties into. You guys are communicating with each other, and I think that's fantastic. Oh, wow, this is interesting how live stuff works. Anyway, hope all you guys got something out of this. Apologize for the audio issues I had at the get-go. Probably going to go ahead and cruise out on this one because I'm not seeing any fresh questions here. Love you guys for sure. And I'm glad you like the hat. Thank you. You guys are the best, seriously. And I appreciate all of you that hung out and tried to get my attention as I was trying to ignore all the noises that were coming through. And some of it was you guys just saying, hey, we can't hear you. But sorry. Whoops. Anyway, Dan RadioStyle, going out with a great song by Lenny Kravitz. It ain't over till it's over. But in this particular case, this video is going to be over here in about 25 seconds. Thank you guys for joining. Stan RadioStyle.